What's up everyone, DPX here, reviewing today Secret Invasion. Before we get started, you know what to do. If you like to subscribe, I will start World War III. So Secret Invasion is the first MCU show of 2023. Kind of weird saying that since we're over halfway through the year. So, looks like they did try to pump the brakes on these shows a little bit, and it tackles the whole Skrull Secret Invasion storyline from the comics, where the Skrulls come in, but there's an added dynamic in the MCU. There's a bunch of good Skrulls now, so now there's the good Skrulls, but now there's also the bad Skrulls revolting and all that. While we also the main character of this show is Nick Fury, and we follow him. Now, I will just say right off the bat, I don't know if I've ever felt any more conflicted when reviewing a show. Because, on the one hand, I really liked a good part of this. But on the other hand, not that the show was necessarily doing anything wrong, but it didn't really have, the next week, I wouldn't really remember too well, what happened the last episode, you know what I mean? And it was never, I was never against watching the new episodes, but, it was never, oh, yeah, let's go, today's Wednesday, a new episode of Secret Invasion. It was more always just oh shit, today's Wednesday, that means a new episode of Secret Invasion is out, oh, let's go watch it, you know? So, I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't have the excitement. I guess maybe it has to do with the fact that it's, not quite the same as, what these usual MCU shows are or movies, and we're following Nick Fury, who's a great character. I really like him, but he's always been, a background character, and I don't know how well you can sell a show where you follow Nick Fury, But getting into the things I like, I do actually really like how the more we found out about Nick Fury, and how, after, by the way, this is spoilers, just so you know. After the blip, after he came back from the blip, he kind of just lost his way, and just, I think that's interesting. Samuel L. Jackson, of course, delivers a great performance as Nick Fury, and, I think he might be the best part of the show. The other thing is the stakes. At the very first episode, it's really hot in here, so there might be the sound of a fan coming in. But the very first episode, they establish this show's not messing around. We kill off Maria Hill in the first episode. The first episode, a character who I think has been there since Phase 1, fucking dies in the first episode. And part of me was though she's gonna come back, she's not actually dead. She never comes back, and it seems pretty convincing that she's actually dead. On the one hand, I'm kind of I feel like she might have deserved better. Maria Hill's been in the, been in the MCU since Phase 1. But on the other hand, it did a lot for the show, and also within the first episode, a whole bunch of people get murdered, and in the fourth episode, I think it was the fourth episode, they kill off Talos, which it was kind of this show is kind of about the relationship between Nick Fury and Talos until they needed Talos to get killed, which, again, raises the stakes, but I just feel like that was a weird thing to do. I was talking about the Skrulls and, what I thought about their kind of motivations, right? In which I thought it was perfectly reasonable. Obviously, them trying to basically take over the world was not, they were wrong in doing that, but, Nick Fury promised them a land and a home on Earth. And, he didn't really follow through on that, and I thought, you would understand why this whole species would revolt. I also really like Gravik. He was kind of the main villain, the main Skrull of the of the Skrulls, and and the performance was great. He was very he seemed pretty intense, and while we don't really find out until the finale, like, we really find out, like, yeah, what his motivations were. The thing is, though, with this show, look, the first 3 episodes, I think it was, like, the first 3 episodes, I don't know, a lot of them kind of blend, but, the first couple of, the first number of episodes were great, and if it kept up on that pace, it probably actually would have been my #1 MCU show, but I don't know, not, like I said, not that it really did anything wrong up until the finale, and we'll get to that. It's a reoccurring thing with these MCU shows, but not that it did anything wrong up until then, but, like, it never really had much staying power, you know what I mean? Like, with all these other MCU shows, like, even some of the, like, some of my least favorite ones, like Moon Knight or She-Hulk, definitely, even those, like, I kind of remember what happened in the last episode, and in the previous week's episode. With Secret Invasion, I didn't really feel that, and it wasn't in, like, a forgettable way. Like, I was quite entertained when I was watching it, but it's like, the stuff didn't really stick, you know what I mean? I feel like we gotta talk about Rhodey. There's some discourse about him online. Obviously, he was a Skrull, that was obvious. It's not like, you know, I'm not holding that against it, because sometimes Marvel does some twist villains, and it's, like, bad, as in, like, wow, we saw that coming. But, like, this was a good twist, but then there's, like, some implications in the end, where we see Rhodey, like, at the area where all the bodies are just being held hostage, and we see him in the same hospital gown that he had on in Civil War when he got shot, right, and paralyzed. So that begs the question, was Rhodey a Skrull ever since Civil War? So in Infinity War and in Endgame, was he just not there? During Tony Stark's funeral, was that not Rhodey? Was that the Skrull? You know, and on the one hand, it's like, yeah, it's kind of thought-provoking. It's like, you go back and watch it, and it's like, you look at it in a different way. But, like, it fucking, like, this is something that, I feel like this is the post-Endgame problem. Is, like, now, you had, like, this, let's be real, Endgame was a finale. But you're continuing it after the finale. You know what I mean? Think of the MCU as, like, a show. Like, one big show, and it had a finale. But instead of, like, ending it there, they had to keep it going. Not that, like, I was against them keeping it going, because you got a big franchise, you kind of have to keep it going, and yeah, that's really, it kind of stops there. You kind of have to keep it going. Now, you introduce stuff like time travel, for example, and now the multiverse, and it's sort of just, you know, there's certain rules that break, and there's certain things don't matter anymore. So now you want to do this thing where, was Rhodey a Skrull since Civil War? You do that, and now it kind of, like, ruins some moments from Infinity War and Endgame. And that finale, my god. Look, the moment between Nick Fury and Gravik, that was a great moment. Just finding out, like, oh boy, Gravik is, like, you understand him, but then, like, you get into the fight between Gaia and Gravik. And by the way, I thought, you know, Emilia Clarke, she's great. Emilia Clarke is great. I feel like she was kind of wasted in this show. She didn't do much, at least for, like, a good part of the show. They give her every Avengers power, every Avengers superpower, and every Guardian of the Galaxy's power, and fucking Thanos' power, and the children of Thanos. They do it, and that just becomes, like, okay, at what point because now Gaia is just the most powerful character in the MCU, without a close second in sight, you know what I mean? Now we know it's like, oh, well, any big thing happens, just call Gaia, but they're not going to do that, because because they keep introducing stuff like this, and they don't really know how to, like, this kind of affects the rest of this shared, connected universe that we have. And, you know, I particularly hate that she also took Thanos' DNA. Because, like, now, because you look at Infinity War and Endgame, and Thanos was, like, a big enough deal to, you know, wiped out half the universe for 5 years. The apocalypse happened because of him. But now, you can just have people that are like, oh, Thanos wouldn't even stand a chance against this character. Like, they did that first with Captain Marvel, but they keep doing that. I guess that would make sense with, like, maybe your new big bad, Kang, right? But, like, a character like Gaia, and it's not just her, it's like a bunch of other characters, too, that they keep doing this with. It's like, this character's more powerful than Thanos. It's like, fuck off. You're completely, like, undoing all the weight and, like, gravity of the, of Infinity War and Endgame. I didn't hate Secret Invasion. It's definitely better than some of the lower tier MCU shows. It's not as good as Loki, my favorite MCU show still. It's not as good as, like, WandaVision. I don't even think it's as good as, like, Miss Marvel, you know. It's a fine enough show. It's kind of hard to rewatch because just, I don't know, it didn't end very well. These MCU shows, man, with their finales, they gotta figure something out because they keep fumbling the finales. But overall, I'm gonna give, and this might change over time. I think this is most likely to change over time. But in the end, I'm gonna give Secret Invasion a 7 out of 10. So that's my review for Secret Invasion. What do you guys think? Do you guys like it, not like it? Anything about the show, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to subscribe, or I will start World War III. Bye!